Good sound. Now how about some foot stomping, because we're getting ready to make noise. And how about a woo-hoo? All right, thank you, Rolling Train Wreck. So we certainly know that part of the work of a politician is to really be in conversation with the people, to listen to people, to listen, and to listen some more. We are very clear on the importance of consultation. So we're going to have two presentations here from Janica and Charles on the Stay campaign. Can I hear Janica and Charles coming up? Righto, righto. And as Janica and Charles come up, I also want to get you ready for thinking about all of the civic elections across our province. Hey, do you guys want to share one microphone, or would you like one of these?
We'll share one.
All right, sharing together.
Hello, are you still awake? Yes, amazing. My name is Janica, and I'm a member of the Vancouver Stay Collective. We are a group of citizens just like you who are very concerned about the fact that so many of our beloved friends and businesses can no longer afford to stay here in Vancouver. So we created a nonpartisan digital storytelling campaign that sparks radical empathy through story. Why story? Because story allows us to get to know one another. And when we get to know one another, we care more about each other. And when we care more about each other, we act on behalf of each other and hopefully vote on behalf of each other at the election coming up on October 20th. Yes, that was my answer. Vancouver's affordability crisis is about real people and real stories. And you just witnessed the first two videos. So the daily doubles are stories from the Vancouver campaign. We spent the summer asking Vancouverites two questions. Vancouver needs me because, and this is what it would take for me to stay. And we invite you to continue thinking about this. We had some folks going around asking you what your top concerns and hopes were, which we are going to talk about in the next 20 seconds. Charles, what did we learn from these stories, friend?
So we actually collected dozens of stories over the last couple of months, and then collected more fears and desires out in the lobby today. And I'm just going to list an overview of a couple of these so we can get back on with the show. It won't be a surprise to you that the biggest concern people have, the biggest fear people have, is around housing and affordability. And what's interesting, though, is in the answers that came up, people wanted low-income housing, co-op housing, public housing, purpose-built rentals. So they're asking for very specific things. This is what we're hearing from everyone. The second on the list, second most common thing we heard was that people want to cultivate and empower social connections and diversity in the city, including investment in community, and including investment in mental health services. This includes work on the addiction and the fentanyl crisis. Third on the list was helping small businesses thrive. And, I can't operate with my hands here, so I will operate from memory. Small businesses owners are really scared in this city. They're scared they're going to have to leave, those who haven't left already. So that's a fear that's being translated into a desire here. And we're hearing that on all these points. Finally, more job opportunities with a wide economic diversity and supporting artists. But all of these rolled together in what we heard from people was people felt some hope for Vancouver, but they're really scared. Many are being pushed out. Janica's living across the border already in Burnaby. So she's an interloper tonight. Anyway, so we encourage you to think beyond your own personal ambitions, desires, who's living next door, and hear these stories online and here tonight, and think about how you would vote, how would you act if you really gave a damn about the rest of the people in the city and the people who are sharing their concerns and their fears and their aspirations.
Thank you, Charles. Yes, that deserves a huge round of applause. So what are we doing with all this information, this data, you ask? Well, I'm so glad that you did. Because we are not only creating a public report that'll be on our website, but candidates, we are going to be sending you all of this information via email, because we have all of your emails, so that when you start your first term, you will be equipped with real stories and real information from Vancouverites. So thank you everyone for sharing your story. It matters, your story matters, and voting matters. So we hope to see you on October 20th. Thank you. Vanessa, we ready for you.
Thank you for the microphone, and thank you. I was just getting the numbers calculator from the one Andrew Pask. Thank you very much, Andrew, for taking this together. So here we've got 22 candidates left. So we have 7 sets left. Yeah, and this is with applause. And then we'll get into then it's gonna get super tight and super quick. So I feel like there might be municipal elections going on all over the province. And Ontario too. Justin McElroy, are you somewhere close? Oh my goodness, if you're in the bar, come in here now. You don't want to miss it. Come on in, everybody.
Revelstoke, Enderby, Sycamus, Kimberley, Castlegar, Cranbrook and Trail, New Denver and Windermere, Sparwood and Invermere, Silver, Contribute for Vale, Care, Meosman, Fiction, Osoyoos and Princeton, Summerlin, Vernon and Selma, the Colonas, Lake Country, Yamang, Colsterman, Salmon, Norbleby and Caslow, there's Brentford and Green with the Radiant, Hot Springs, Armstrong and Beachland, Oliver, Nuscombe, Waycross, and Colton, Montrose and Rosslyn and Slocan. Victoria, Sydney, Norcowich and Corby, the Sandwiches, Langford and Nanaimo, Duncan and Ladies, Bethlancheville and Shaman, Assault Bayou, Bluelit, Tofino, Wallach and Parksville, and Valish, Control, and Gulf Island, Esquivel and Cassis, Colwood Lake, Couch, and Bowser, Mount Washington, and Shirley, Saban and Masset, Ford, Alberni, and Alice, and Edward, and Clement, and Hardy, McNeil, all spoken, Cumberland, Rockco, Max, Number River, the Highlands, View, Royal, McChosen. Vancouver, Surrey, Abbotsford, Burnaby, Belfair, Antwerp, Whitlam, Weston, Vancouver, Pemberton, Edwards, both of the Langley's and Mission, Delta, which has both the Watson and Lad, North and Whitewalk, Port and Port Moody, Lions Bay, Squamish, New Westminster, Richmond, and who can forget Yuba City, Bow and Island and Gibson, Seashell, Power River, head up to Prince George and Prince Rupert, Pitt Meadows and Maplewood, Chilliwack, Camptown, Scarga, and Stewart. Mackenzie, Temple Picture, Cass Creek, 100-mile coast, Clearwater Barrier, and Picture 10 Open Beaks, Lillooet, Logan Lake, Tupper, which will then be Belmont, Washington, Smithers, Alert Bay, Lake Hazelton, Type, and New Hazelton, Taylor, Canasta, River, Ford, St. James, St. John's, Winter, Hoof, Moving on to McBride, Fort, Fields, and Hello, Dawson Creek, Bird Lake, Nelson, and Birds Lake, Tiddlemans, Gatorcake, Renault, and Edlin, and Africa, Campbellton, Linden, and Harrison, Hot Springs, and Hope.
You just quote?
162, and then a few unincorporated ones here and there.
Justin McElroy, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Justin, for making us remember all of our municipal pals. Wow, we're coming up here. We're coming up quick to the next round. Come on, Mistress of the Gong. Mistress of the Gong. Round of applause. Our tabulators, round of applause. Now it seems our judges of the Inquisition have dropped their robes. Is this dangerous? It's time for the first round of 3. Can I pick them? Right on. Thanks. Oh yeah. Feeling this one like it's a tarot card. Mr. Dance, Abu Bakar Khan. Jason LaMarche. And the third candidate speaking, Jason, you're second. Michael Weed from the Green Party. On deck, just getting you guys ready for the on deck piece. This is an awkward position for me. Let me turn it as I need it. On the stage, on deck. Oh yeah. Brendan Yan, you're on deck. Raza Mirza, you're on deck. Come on down from Pro Vancouver. Brandon Yan from One City, you're number 1. And the third position, Ashley Hughes. Let me pass behind you, please. Thank you.
All right, Vancouver's mayor, former mayor, current mayor, about to be former mayor, Gregor Robertson's terms began with a promise to end homelessness. But the 2018 homeless count found it is at the highest level since the count began. What are we doing wrong, and what do we have to change to get people housing?
My name is Abu Bakr Khan. I'm running as an independent for Vancouver City Council. In 2016, I opened up the mosque as a homeless shelter, and I connected the Sikh community with the mosque and then the synagogues and the churches. And we had 15 people, residents of the downtown east side, living with us for a week. Now, why I bring this up is because we need to bring our resources together. That's the key. That's what I'm finding, is that in the city of Vancouver, we're very disconnected. If we want to solve this issue, it's not a Christian issue, it's not a Muslim issue, it's not a developer issue or a Carnegie Community Center issue. It's a human issue. It's a Vancouverite issue. So I think that's the way we're going to solve it, is by all of us actually sitting down together and discussing what it is that's happening. Ending homelessness, that's a huge thing. We can do it, but we can only do it together. Thank you.
Strategies. We need a strategies.
I have strategies.
Jason LaMarche here, your serious and competent, qualified candidate for Mayor of Vancouver. I was a banker for several years. I went to Langara, UBC, studied commerce, political science. I have over 10 years political experience in various levels of government. I'm ready to handle the awesome responsibility of looking after the lives of 700,000 people, and housing central to all of that, okay? So housing is a gradient that everyone needs to be a part of, and the reason why it's not working is because think of Money Mart. Money Mart is a bunch of scumbags because they're predatory lenders. That means they're charging a rate that's too damn high, okay? The rent is completely unregulated. So you're telling 50 to 60% of Vancouverites that you're gonna be stuck in this industry that's not even regulated. The sky's the limit. And you know what? You're forcing people in this fixed area to compete for that rental stock with buyers and renters from around the world. Because Vancouver is a paradise and everyone wants to live here, and it drives the rents up. So you got to regulate it. My solution is rent control at $500 a month for a one bedroom. We're going to put rent control zones in different parts of the city, and we're going to make it a reality.
Hello, I'm Michael Wiebe, and I'm running with the Vancouver Greens for Council. This is a significant issue for multiple reasons. One, we need to recognize that it's a housing spectrum. A couple of the components have not been dealt with, and when I was meeting with Gregor Robinson as the chair of the park board, we struggled on the temporary housing component of it. Not temporary housing, but the fact is that there's no dignity villages between people who are homeless wanting to go up the ladder. One, we need to go for housing. So we're going to look at city-owned land. We're going to look at 50% of all new housing to be non-market rate. Two, housing needs to be in the charter, in the Vancouver Charter, as a right. This is a right for everyone in Vancouver to find a good home. Second, third of all, is that we need to look at all options of why people are homeless. We need to deal with the health crisis we have in Vancouver. It is significant and it continues to grow, and until we fund it properly, we have to deal with the health. Thank you.
This is us now. Speaking of collaboration, starting with our first candidate by a show of sound support. Hands stomping, feet clapping. Thank you for your time. Stay. Thank you very much. And come on up. Getting our next candidates ready. Thank you very much, Greenest candidate. Brandon Yan from One City, please, you're on. Rahana Rizal, Pro Vancouver. Oh, so on deck. Yeah, I know. You guys are on stage. We get the other people on deck. Okay. On deck, we have Rahana Rizal and Graham Cook and Franco Petta. Make yourselves available, please, right here, right now. Okay.
A city councillor serves as the chair of the PNE, and with Raymond Louis retiring, the job is opening up. We've had years of attendance trending downward at the PNE, so what would you like to see it become? And what's the best thing about the PNE today?
I'll start with the best thing. Can we all just agree that it's super dogs? Bow wow, woof woof, we're all one. I would say that for the PNE, we have to talk to that neighborhood, the Hastings Sunrise neighborhood that I was at their all candidates meeting, and we chatted about what they also wanted to see in that neighborhood. And I think what they're looking for is a park where they can access that is cheaper for the neighborhood, and also ensuring that traffic is also controlled, because that's one thing that they talked about was actually their neighborhood has become a flow through of folks trying to escape congestion, and so traffic calming is number one on their radar. And more things that are Star Trek related at the PNA. That's all I have to say.
Oh, that's an interesting one. 10 years ago when I came here, the first public event I went to was actually the Fright Nights in PNE. And that's awesome. I was, a couple of reasons. Not just the haunted house, one of the rides, that scared the shit out of me. But to specifically answer the question, what's going on, Councillor Raymond Louis is leaving. And I think one of the big things is we need to do is we don't need one more person to keep on doing the same thing. We always have to have a contingency plan, which means we need to rotate through the council, give them terms, maybe 6 months, maybe in a year. So we always have people who are experienced enough and understand when a person leaves, there is a list of possibilities who can take on those responsibilities. And in terms of what we need, like one of the big issues, there is, when I go there, people are looking for parking, and that's something we need to actually address there. We need to make sure that the traffic is addressed as well. So thank you.
I'm Ashley Hughes. I'm running for Vancouver City Council as an independent. One thing I liked about the PNE is it's a little bit separate than Playland. I like that people around our community can showcase and bring their wares there that they've made. It's 100 miles. So you can actually, the 100-mile diet, you can bring something that they've grown, they can bring something that they've cultivated, they can show off their pigs, they can show off their dogs. It's a marketplace. So make it a little bit more accessible to show people that what we've made, the makers of our community, because isn't that what the PNE is about, celebrating our community? And that's how I would make the PNE a little bit better, is like make it more about what we have to bring to the table.
Anybody see Mina Shum's new movie about Hastings Sunrise PNE Parkers? Round of applause for Mina Shum. Speaking of applause, foot stamping, hootin' and hollerin', Brandon Yan. Raza Mirza. Ashley Hughes. Thank you for your time, Ashley. Stay. Thank you very much. You guys are doing a really good job. Okay, getting on deck. On deck. So we've got our next candidates coming up. On deck. Music. Justin Caldwell and music. Independent. Melissa DiGenova and music. NPA. Shauna Sylvester and music. Independent.
One of the concerns on the board outside on the stay map of Vancouver was how development would affect the diversity of that community. How do you respond to that person? They're somewhere here tonight.
Hi, I'm Rohan Rizal, running for Council with Pro Vancouver. So just one thing before I answer my question. Let the vote you cast be second to last. Remember that phrase. Yes, this is very true. The problem is we are not building for the people of Vancouver. We are building empty condos because that's what the best, we are building safety deposit boxes in the sky because that's a good place to park the global money that's sloshing around. There's $2 trillion of it. Because that's what West Bank, Onni, Aquilini, and the likes of them want. What we need to do is build for the people. We need to build rentals because 75% of the new households that have started in Vancouver are rentals. We need to build affordable rentals, real affordable rentals, not rentals that cost $4,700 a month. We need to have a 50-50 social and market housing mix.
Mistress of the gong.
Hi, Franco Petta, Coalition Vancouver. I was lucky enough to be born and raised in Vancouver, and I think if you're born in Vancouver and you live in Vancouver, you're one of the luckiest people on the planet. I grew up in a neighborhood where we could play all day and all night, and it was a neighborhood, your neighbors knew you, your parents knew all the kids, and that's gone. And I think it's time that we start taking communities and building them like a village. So in the different areas of town, you have housing for seniors, you have housing for young families, you have housing for professionals, and you make a mix. Instead of just having one type of housing in an area, I think you need to mix it up and put people together. Like, people have kind of discarded seniors like they're not important when they worked and contributed to the social structure of the city. So I think like building a village in different communities is my solution to making it a neighborhood again.
Absolutely. I think my colleagues here touched on a very important point. When it comes to be able to maintaining the diversity of a neighborhood, which I think was what the question was about, it requires first, like both of them have pointed out, creating affordable housing and creating a diversity of housing market and non-market, and looking at ways that the non-market housing can complement the market components. The other way, I think, especially when it comes to our more vulnerable neighborhoods such as Chinatown, the downtown east side, and Hogan's Alley, we need to focus on our community consultation and neighborhood veto efforts there, rather than on the more privileged neighborhoods like Shaughnessy and West Point Grey, which have stayed the same largely because of regressive zoning policies. Thank you. I'm Graham Cook, I'm number 27 on your ballot.
Graham Cook. I don't have my card. Oh, I do. Franco Petta. Rohana Razel. One more time. Thank you very much for your participation. Stay, baby, stay. Stay, baby, stay. Let me clarify something. Hogan's Alley is no longer a community. Hogan's Alley was a community of African Canadian people living in an intercultural neighborhood that was based in Strathcona. At one point, there was more than 800 black people living in that neighborhood, and we were living in and amongst Italians, Portuguese, Chinese, First Nations. Let me finish my list, Tanya Paz. Thank you very much. Japanese, Ukrainian people, a whole set of other folks, 100% human people. So I really, really appreciate people talking about the presence of Hogan's Alley. This is neutral. There are a group of citizens, not politically affiliated, in a neutral position, saying that in an opportunity for redress, we can look at what actually, there was a particular party in line that is still active, that was part of the Bartholomew Plan that designed redlining in East Vancouver and designed policies based on race and exclusionary race policies that had the impact of making that neighborhood, which is Strathcona, have fewer and fewer city services, street cleaning, water, sewer, so that it became a place nobody wanted to live until such time when the freeway was ready to be built. It could be justified because it was a slum, and there were certainly a lot of strong activists in the Chinese Canadian community and the intercultural community that said no freeway. But that's after they built the viaduct that went through the neighborhood that was where the green spot is right now on the viaduct. This is me thinking of the green spot. Can you see it? Between Gore and Union, Pryor and Gore and Main, Prior and Union. So that place where there's tents living now, where there's going to be temporary modular housing. What a lot of African Canadian citizens across Metro Van are really looking forward to is an opportunity to recenter Blackness in the story of Vancouver and actually deal head on with the issue of erasure and the opportunity. Yeah, my feelings exactly. And the opportunity to offer something back to the city that is citizen-driven, community building, village making. I just got a love swoosh, thank you. I'm one of those citizens. And Pete Fry. Funnily enough, Pete Fry, Green Party, come on. Oh, on deck. Yeah, you guys come on up. You guys come on up. Come on up. And on deck. Pete Fry, Green Party. Jean Swanson, Cope. And Alicia Perosa, Vancouver First. You're next in line. Let's go.
So, there are 43 people in the city's communications department at a cost of $3.28 million every year. That is 5 times as much as it was under Mayor Sam Sullivan. Does the city need that many spin doctors? Should we budget for spin doctors like they are actual doctors? What would you spend the money on instead?
It's unfortunately very hard to fire people at City Hall. But it's the only way we're going to lower spending and then lower taxes. That's what I'd spend the money on.
Well, I've spoken about this in the last election, and I think my answer remains the same. We have 43 people in the communications department putting out fires, but we really actually need 43 firefighters in Vancouver. So maybe if we actually hired firefighters instead of people to put out fires that we wouldn't have to put out if we had proper engagement and consultation, that's what I'd like to spend the money on. I'd also like to see those staff maybe redirected to other departments, which I think could be possible. And I have to say that this is the biggest communications department ever before. The other mayors and other governments have only had 2 to 3 people in the communications department before this government. So I certainly would like to see the money allocated back to the departments that need it, especially public consultation engagement. I think that's a great way to put out the fires.
Thanks so much. I've been asked. My name is Shauna Sylvester. I'm running for mayor as an independent candidate. Thank you. So communications is important, but where it's important is how we communicate with our citizens and the residents. And this is one of the things that I don't think that we've got right over the last 10 years, possibly far longer than that. We are not consulting in a way that is effective. Let's take the staff that have been centralized into communications and put them where they rightfully belong, which is in the departments to help and in the community to help on community consultation. So we get so much better. So people don't feel like their city is not meeting their needs and they're turning away from it. That's what we need to do to communications, is make it much more about engaging citizens with their city. Thanks.
Shauna Sylvester. Running for mayor, Shauna Sylvester. Running for Vancouver City Council, Melissa DeGenova. Justin Caldwell, Independent Council. Thank you for your time, Justin.
Thank you.
Melissa, Shauna, you're in like Flynn. Errol Flynn, some of you will know. Do you know where he died? Bayshore. That's right. One of Hollywood's finest. Nobody's talked about our movie industry here. We're using this on-deck term. I don't know if any of you've done auditions before, but that's a pretty common Hollywood language. Pretty soon I can flick my hair. You know how wonderful this is? Okay, too much information. On deck. Elizabeth Taylor, friend of Errol Flynn. Come on down. I'm sorry, Elizabeth, that's not fair. Elizabeth Taylor, Vancouverite, come on down. Vancouver first. Catherine Evans, Vision Vancouver. There's a seat right here for you. Come on down. Round 3, come on, thank you.
All right, this summer, according to a silly online bracket competition conducted by a foolish, unnamed CBC journalist, Vancouver's unofficial ambassador is Canuck the Crow. Who do you think Vancouver's unofficial ambassador is?
Okay, weirdly enough, this is the second time I got this question in as many days. Also weirdly enough, I started a Crow fan page on Facebook about 10 years ago. There's now 20,000 members. Because at the time, there was people actually talking about a crow call. So there was letters to the editor in the province and in the Sun saying, we gotta kill the crows, there's too many crows. So I was, well, that's outrageous. And some friends and I started a Crow fan page. It totally took off. And then of course, Dan broke the Canuck the Crow story. And I think Canuck the Crow is our official ambassador. I think anybody who lives in East Vancouver really appreciates crows. We see them fly over every night. In my neighborhood, they're dropping all the acorns off the trees and waiting for cars to smash them. And it's like, it's cool. I love it. And they're very intelligent birds. They are the equivalent of primate brains. They're uniquely Vancouver. We actually have our own subspecies of crow here in Vancouver, which is an interesting side note. There's the Western crow and the American crow.
Hi, I'm Jean Swanson. I'm running for council with COPE. I love Canuck. I petted him once. But I want to answer an important question because I don't think it was answered before, and that is, how do we end homelessness? And the way is, we need to get modular housing for every homeless person, and we need to do it now. And if we have the political will, we can do it. There's no reason we can't. The modular units cost about $100,000 each. If we had a mansion tax, we could get enough money to build a modular unit for every counted homeless person in 1 year. Homeless people have half the life expectancy as other people, and if we get them housing, we'll actually save money because it costs more to keep homeless people on the street than to keep them in housing. So that's what we need to do. It needs to be a priority of whoever gets elected, and it's definitely a priority of all the COPE candidates: Derek O'Keefe, Ann Roberts, me, Diana Day, Gwen Giesbrick, John Irwin, and Barb Parrott.
Just to clarify again, as of today, I am no longer affiliated with Vancouver First. I am running as an independent for City Council. To quickly add to what you said, Jean, upon homelessness, one other thing we can do is empower them. If you look at If you empower them, you can take a look at a Better Life Foundation. They have and utilize food as a way to get these people working, get them into an incredible environment and space where they can be surrounded by positivity. Now, to answer the question, I think the people should be our ambassador this year and always, the people of Vancouver. And this is how and why we are changing our city. And this is how we're going to change it, is through elections like this. Is choosing leadership that will create change, leadership that listens to us. So why wouldn't we be the ambassadors? Thank you.
One thing I know about crows, they all got a place to roost.
Although not for long, actually, still
Even our crows are being made homeless. This is something unbelievable. So I think we have an opportunity here to be a worldwide leader and not only creating homes and helping all the other cities that are dealing with homelessness, because we're certainly not alone, but we could be the leader that solves it and the problem with our growing crow homelessness. Thank you, Pete. No more extra time. Okay, by a show of applause, Pete. Jean Swanson. Independent, Alicia Perosa. Green Party, Pete Fry. You're flocking awesome. You're staying. Thank you for your time. Jean Swanson, thank you very much. Stay with us. A little crow dance. Okay, this is going great. God, this is our last round until the next eliminate, and then the eliminated ones. Derek O'Keefe, Coke Party, you're on deck. Christine Boyle, One City, you're on deck. Francoise René, Independent, you're on deck. I love it when the music plays. It helps me do this really, really hard work. I don't need music, I am music. Diego Cardona! Vision Vancouver, please take your place. I am music, you are music, we are music.
All right, if you are getting around the city with a stroller or a wheelchair or have an accessibility need, it can be hard to get around this city. Right now, public requests guide where ramps go. What would you do to increase accessibility in the city?
My name is Tanya Paz. That's P like Pepper, AZ, and I'm running for City Council with Vision Vancouver. Thank you so much for asking this question because accessibility often gets left out. So what would I do to increase accessibility? I know it's possible to have an office of accessibility, but I think I think an accessibility lens needs to be in every department at the city. So I chair the city's Active Transportation Policy Council, and I recruited, over some time, convinced someone in a wheelchair to join that committee, Gabrielle Peters, and she has taught us so much. It turns out that curb cuts, we've got 8,000 curb cuts left to build in this city. That's curbs you can't get off of onto across the street. That little dip. Calgary and Edmonton are fixing 250 to 350 a year, and we're fixing 40 a year. So this last year, they upped it to 140 because our group asked for it. It's not much, but it's something. So in the next capital budget, more. People who can't see need bumps. It's a whole other problem.
Done, Tanya, stop.
Well, I agree with you about the sidewalks. I also think, however, that accessibility and parking shouldn't be strictly for malls. I mean, I think that a lot of the major roads need more handicapped parking because a lot of those people need larger vehicles. And so therefore, that would be important. And when they disembark those vehicles, it needs to be safe for them. And so therefore, there can't be anything in the proximity of that parking space that would hinder that. So that's what I would say.
Thank you, Catherine Evans, Vision Vancouver for City Council. Curb cuts, definitely we are way behind the ball on that one. And wider sidewalks, those are two really critical factors. But when I do want to give a shout out to Green Party, Michael Wiebe, for introducing a really important motion at Park Board in the last term, which was accessibility to our beaches. And so that we brought the mats so that people on wheelchairs could get across the beaches and to the water. And that was just a good demonstration of if we listen to people about what they need, they'll tell us and we can build it. And those mats were just a really super example of something that created made a big difference for a few people.
And I will just remind us, when we make considerations for a few people, many people benefit. So let's hear it for Tanya P. like Pepper Paz. Catherine Evans. And Elizabeth Taylor. Thank you for your time, Elizabeth. Good work, Catherine. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tanya. Okay, so we've got 4 candidates going up for this last round. After which, how do these numbers work? My friend Andrew Pask is going to tell me. 3 of these candidates will be coming through the next round. And then how many in that next round, Andrew? It's so late, but we love this. 2 more rounds. Yes. Okay. Good work, everybody. May the force be with you.
So...
Daily double, daily double.
Vancouver needs me as I'm quite active in the community. I just like to do what I can to make my community better for myself, for my friends, for people less privileged as myself. I like to advocate for public space, so I'd like to see housing made a lot easier for everybody to be able to afford to live here. I also would like to see a lot more resources put into mental health. I've had people close to me have to leave the city because they couldn't get mental health help in the city, and that's difficult to see that.
So inspired by that, the question is, it's been said that Vancouver's policy of developing its arterial streets but keeping the character of residential neighborhoods has the effect of preserving homes many of us can't afford while destroying the stores and the services we can. A case in point, just a couple days ago, a 32-story tower was approved on top of the site of the Three Bridges Community Health Clinic. So what would you change about zoning to help us afford the rent, get what we need, and help us afford the groceries?
All right, thank you very much. I'm Derek O'Keefe. I'm running with the COPE slate. I'm number 59 on the ballot. I haven't mentioned this yet tonight. 59 of 71, but that's okay, because at COPE, we believe that change comes from the bottom up. Okay, come on. No, so start and look for Jean Swanson and Ann Roberts as well. In terms of zoning, we started this campaign with a rally at the Crescent in Shaughnessy, because that is the richest cul-de-sac, the richest roundabout in all of Canada. It's unfair that that neighborhood from the very beginning has excluded poor people, renters, people of color, and it still is an exclusionary neighborhood. The population in Shaughnessy and Dunbar has been declining, while density has been displacing people on the east side and poorer neighborhoods like right here in the downtown east side. It's time that we took social and supportive housing back to Dunbar, we took it back to Shaughnessy, and we put some modular housing right around the Crescent there with all of those mansions. It's time to open up the richest neighborhoods to housing of all kinds in Vancouver. Thank you very much.
Christine Boyle running for City Council with One City, and this is a really central part of One City's housing platform and policies for this election. One City is focused on making sure that every neighborhood is for everyone, which, as Derek talked about, means that we have affordable housing options in every neighborhood of the city for everyone across the income spectrum. And we know that increasing density in wealthy neighborhoods increases those land values. So in addition to that, One City wants to bring in a land value capture so that some of that publicly created wealth is being redirected back into the kinds of deeply affordable housing that we need in all of those neighborhoods. And also, if every neighborhood for everyone isn't sweet enough for you, I have candy I'm gonna throw out into the crowd.
I'll do that afterwards for you, Christy.
All right, I'm on. So yes, I agree with every other person, it seems, here tonight in that we do need to have a mix of housing in every neighborhood in the city. I have candy. Sorry. But no, and another thing too, though, is about the fact that retail is moving out of a lot of these like corridors. I have kind of a unique idea. I don't know if anybody's talked about it yet. I think that we need an artisan cart program so that people who are like small scale entrepreneurs and artisans can have a way to sell outside of stores. And I think community centers should have commercial kitchens. So if you want to make food to sell, you can go to the local community center, get your food safe certification, rent the space there, make it and sell it to people. And also we should have industrial sewing machines at community centers that people can use not only to repair stuff, but to make stuff to sell to their neighbors. I think it's really important that part of a livable community is that there are corner stores, there are places to buy things, and you can buy from your neighbors. That's what I'd like to see. And yes, change them.
Thank you very much for the question. Diego Cardona running with Vision Vancouver. I live in a single-family neighborhood in Southeast Vancouver with my sister, and I want to be able to stay in that neighborhood, and I don't want to occupy this massive space. So I want to make room in every single neighborhood for every single person in Vancouver. That means legalizing duplexes, triplexes, quadruplexes, co-housing, social housing, affordable housing. I want to aspire to live in a co-housing environment with shared amenities where our neighbors really engage with each other. And something that's very close and dear to my heart, I want to be able, if I had the pleasure of having my grandma here, I would like her to have the option to stay in any neighborhood she wanted if she wanted to live in a senior long-term care home. Senior long-term care homes are not legalized in every neighborhood, and I think they should be legalized in every neighborhood because every grandparent should be able to stay near their children and grandchildren if that's what they want to do.
Francoise. Derek. Christine. Diego. So Christine, I think that's number 1 position for you, friend. Stay. I think Diego's here number 2. Now, I'm wondering, pardon me? There are sound meters, apps available, but I'm going to give us another chance. Help me out here. Derek. That must be the angels. I'm going on this side. So.
Then they can do it better?
Yeah, exactly. Take your space. Francoise. I think Francoise is in. Yes. Thank you, Derek, for your participation. Much appreciated. Okay, so this is great. We are now into round 4. There's 15 candidates. There's 3 sets. There's 5 sets with 3 people. Oh my God, this is great. 3 sets with 5 people. So now it gets tight, people. And then we're gonna vote for the best of 2 of the 5. Oh, by applause. Hey, I wonder if somebody else might like to do the picking of the names. Yeah, come on, Priscilla. Oh, music, please. And for our guest presenter today, we have Priscilla. I never know why you don't know how to tell the So glad to have you here. To tell the truth, Priscilla. You don't know how to tell the truth. Francoise, Renee, back at it. Catherine Evans, you're back at it. Jean Swanson, come on up. Okay. Pete Fry, oh no, we got one more Priscilla. Pete Fry, come on up. And then we're gonna get the people on deck too. We're gonna do 2 rounds. Christine Boyle, last one on this one. Perfect. So on deck we have Priscilla. This is so helpful. Thank you so much. Abu Bakar Khan, please get on deck. Tanya Paz, please join the awaiting. Shauna Sylvester, you're on deck. Melissa DeGenova, you're on deck too. And Priscilla's last draw is the one and only. Would you please say his name out loud?
Brandon Dean.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Priscilla. Let's both of us go off stage together. Ta-ta. A refresh of your order. Yeah, for sure. That's absolutely true. So far, Francoise is an excellent listener. Catherine Evans, super great. Jean Swanson, I'm going to ask you to go right here. Number 3. Pete, your position, and so is Ms. Boyle. Wow, it's getting hot up here. Okay, but you know what? This is an endurance test. Life is an endurance test if we should be so lucky. So please.
Well, pretty much everyone agrees that after a certain point at night, whether it's midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., the Granville Strip gets pretty garbagey. Earlier this year, a nightclub promoter was murdered on the Strip, and another person who killed a woman in 2016 was sentenced to 2 years in prison. The city is now spending more money on safety than they ever have before, but does that entire nightlife district have to be rethought?
Okay, big question. So I think generally it's not a great idea to put all of the nightlife in one place. I think that if it were a little bit scattered more throughout the city, we maybe wouldn't see as many issues. The other thing I think that's really important with the Granville Strip is that we should have 24-hour SkyTrain service. And I think that if people were able to get off the Granville Strip after a night of drinking without having to take really expensive cabs out to the suburbs that probably won't even pick them up, I think that would help solve a lot of the problems. And I used to live on Granville Strip, so I lived above the Oki Wonton House, which no longer exists, at the corner of Granville and Davie. So I am quite familiar with the neighborhood and its eccentricities. And I think if I were on council, it's something that I would be taking seriously and thinking hard about. Thank you.
Hi there, Catherine Evans with Vision Vancouver, running for City Council. The Granville Strip has, I think, issues both day and night. There's a little bit of thinking that should be done about some of the zones of it during the day. It's kind of an uninviting place for people to be. And I think if there were a better mix of people that were there during the day and into the evening, there would be, it would work a lot better. So yeah, I do think we really need to take that one on. It's not going to be easy, and I think it's going to take a fair bit of discussion. But yeah, for sure, I would like to see the Granville Strip rethought, but not just about the night, also for the day.
Well, honestly, I haven't thought a lot about the Granville Strip, but I'm not really into the culture of drink, 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 drink. And maybe we should do things that will kind of tone that culture down. But I wanted to talk about something that's really, really important, and that's rent increases. We desperately need a rent freeze in this city, and if the province won't give us no increase annually and no increase as much as the landlord wants between tenants, COPE will do everything in its power, using city powers, to protect tenants. That means using the tenant protection and rent eviction policy when landlords go to get permits. Say, no, you can't have your permit unless you guarantee that the tenant can return at the same rent. That means using the business license to say, landlords, if you want a business license, you have to show us what your rents are, and maybe we'll be able to regulate how much those rents can go up to. So if you want somebody that's really going to protect tenants, vote COPE.
Yeah, you know, 30 years ago and a lot more hair ago, I used to be one of those sort of Granville Street punk rockers. And it was a very different vibe back then. Now, Granville Street, I'm actually scared to go there at night because I feel like I'm a fist magnet. You know, there's too much testosterone, there's too much violence. I don't really like the vibe. I do think that there could be a thoughtful rethink of how we approach it. We should have a nightmare. So somebody who's actively developing a strategy for how we do nightlife in the city. We need to have better transit options because, frankly, it's ridiculous that we don't have transit options to safely get back. But I think the reality is that the Granville Strip does not necessarily focus on the needs of our local City of Vancouver population, but it's more of a destination. And we need to contextualize that, remembering that we need to put our local residents first, and it needs to be a safe and accessible street for everybody, especially those of us who live here. And I don't like the idea of a particular part of town being unsafe to me or my friends just because of this.
So Christine Boyle, One City, and to the shock of all of you, I'm sure I'm also not a regular Granville Street nighttime goer, but I agree that we that there are things that we can do, that we should be improving nighttime transit for people, and that the nightmare is a great idea in rethinking how we take care of the issues on the Granville Strip. I'm particularly concerned that the same populations put most at risk by the kind of violence on Granville Street at night are populations that are always put more at risk. And so I want to make sure that we're taking care of that we're providing education about gender-based violence to staff in those institutions so that they can be keeping an eye out for people, and that over-policing isn't necessarily our answer, that we need to be providing more community support. And on that note, I just think maybe the other thing we should be rethinking is toxic masculinity.
Ms. Jean Swanson. Pete Fry. Christine Boyle. Catherine Evans. Francoise. So the easy part, Christine Boyle, please stay, thank you so much. Pete Fry, good work. A little. It's only two? Oh gosh. Thank you everybody for your efforts. Appreciate your participation. So get a load of this unsolicited comment. You know, one of the things I think would be really great to address culture on Granville Street is actually to have a culture of the imagination so that people don't have alcohol as the only way that they feel self-expressed. To have a way where we're supporting our children to be able to meet their own particular interests. That happens with our schooling, that happens with every other way that we cultivate our culture so that it's not either drunk or be suppressed. On deck, Abubakar Khan, please come down. I'm sorry. I just took what was handed to me. Can you believe it? Never again. So on deck, music, please. So everybody, give me your best face while the music is happening. Music, DJ. This is Michael Weeb. Come on down. Graham Cook. Come on down. Raza. Music. Come on down. Diego Cardona. Franco Petta. Come on down. Oh, one dance off. How's about everybody? Just get up and have a little, is this Canadian rock or something like that? I think it is. Okay, everybody, just for fun, come on. Get on your feet, let's go. Let's go. There's a party over here, there's a party over there, let's go. Hey people, let's dance. If you can't dance, this is what made me go to punk rock. Okay, very good, very nice. Okay, in the efficiency of time, you can keep on dancing, and I will leave you to do your answers. Thank you so much. Stay video.
Hi, I'm Sandra, and Vancouver needs me because I represent the next generation of Canadians. I was born in Montreal, raised in Vancouver, and consider myself Canadian despite my ethnic background. And what it would take for me to stay is for employers and businesses to pay living wages. So in Vancouver, that means $20 an hour, and businesses should pay their suppliers accordingly as well. Thanks.
All right, candidates, get ready for a winning answer.
The city of Vancouver is a living wage employer, and certain city vendors have to pay their employees a living wage, but only if the estimated annual value of the contract is more than $250,000 and the services are regular and ongoing. Now you know. Should the city change this policy, and if not, why?
All right, my name is Abubakar Khan. I'm running as an independent for Vancouver City Council. I will answer that question in a moment. I'll do my best. But I wanted to first answer the question prior. Someone asked me about solutions in regards to the mental health. I'd be advocating for psychological services to be fully funded under the MSP, so that's a provincial thing. I would also digitize the permitting process, so I got endorsed by a company because look, the small businesses should not have to wait so long in regards to the permitting process. It saves us a lot of money, and also for the modular housing and affordable housing that Jean Swanson and COPE continues to bring up, the permitting process is halting all of that. So that's digitizing it, and another thing is I would empower the VPD to stop arresting people in regards to illicit substance use, because that's not the way forward. Now, to answer your question, I know I'm gonna probably lose this round, but to answer, it's been a long night. I love you all. I just want to say I love you all. Thank you so much for dealing with me. But I think it's $250,000 you were saying. It's ongoing. I think we should look at it basically done. I love you. It's past my bedtime.
Good evening. My name is Tanya Paz. That's P like pepper, A-Z. I'm running for City Council with Vision Vancouver. I think that anybody who pays their employees to make avocado toast should pay a living wage. Okay, sorry, that was a joke. Anyway. I think that the current living wage in Vancouver is $20.96 or $20.97 an hour. And you're right, Justin, that's not something that the city can control, but the city has a procurement policy that you asked me about. And I think that, I understand why it would be ongoing contracts, because if they can't fully support the other ones, then is it fair to ask them to up that when that's a provincial, minimum wage is a provincial policy. But yes, I think it could be lowered to maybe $100,000 or $150,000 contracts or more. It's something to explore for sure. Thank you.
Shauna Sylvester, running as an independent mayoral candidate. I am completely in favor of a living wage, but I want to suggest this isn't as easy as you think it is. This came forward at Mountain Equipment Co-op. I was all for it, but when we started to look at every single supplier then had to do it, then that meant that there was a whole range of small-scale suppliers we couldn't use anymore. I'm worried about our small businesses are going through such incredible hardship. Now, I believe everybody should get a living wage, and I think what we need to do is create a program that incentivizes and brings those reliable suppliers that aren't there into, so there's got to be a transition period. So go down maybe a little bit lower to 100,000, but then let's create a transitioning program to allow those small businesses that want to supply the city to become livable wage suppliers.
Thank you. Melissa DiGenova, running for City Council with the NPA, and I'm running for re-election. I'm going to take it a step farther. I think that we need to look at procurement at the City of Vancouver and what we pay. So if we can pay that at the City of Vancouver, we just have to look at how we're spending our dollars, and I think we have to be committed to a living wage. But community center associations, people who would lose childcare, which is something that hasn't come up tonight, I think we have to consider that. Also, more so than a living wage, something that I learned this year, and I don't have to conflict out anymore because my daughter is 13 months old, is if my husband, who is a City of Vancouver employee, and I conflict out when I have to on that, if he wanted to take parental leave to take care of our daughter, he doesn't get paid as much as a birth mother or a woman. So I think we have to look at wages for women and for men. If an LGBTQ couple adopted, they wouldn't get the same amount of supplement as, can't say anything more, but I do support a living wage.
It's okay. Hi, my name is Brandon, Chinese name Yan, and I 100% behind the living wage. The nonprofit that I work for, Out On Screen, just became a certified living wage employer. So we hire local LGBTQ plus folks, and it's really important that we pay a living wage specifically for that particular group because typically they are underpaid and undervalued. And I think our labor is definitely worth a living wage. And looking at procurement in the City of Vancouver, not only looking at perhaps lowering that threshold, but also looking at the ways in which we can ensure that procurement also remains in the local economy as well. Because every dollar we spend in this city, and it stays in this city, is important to ensure that young people, people of all walks of life, can actually ensure to, pay their rent, pay their suppliers, pay their workers, pay their laborers. So looking at ways in which that can happen, local economy, super important. Cool.
Great, you guys are troopers, man. So, breath in, get your energy right, because this is a really important last round. So, feeling strong? Brandon, yeah. Melissa DiGenova. Shauna Sylvester. Tanya Paz. Abu Bakr Khan. Thank you. So I feel you're going to bed now. Good night. It's time to rest.
I gotta shake everybody's hand.
Okay. So while he's doing that, I feel like I couldn't hear. Where was it feel tied? Was it Tanya and Shauna?
I think Shauna.
Oh, just one more time. Okay. Thank you, Tanya. Job well done. Shauna? Melissa? Another kiss the baby. So it looks like we've got Brandon and Shauna going through. Thank you so much. Wow. Good work, everybody. So now what's going on is this other round coming up. Yeah. And then it's the close of this round. And I hope my comments about Canadian rock didn't hurt anybody's feeling about making me turn to punk rock. I love Canadian music content, and I love Canadian politicians, and I love Canada. Okay.
So you've all heard from over 50 candidates here tonight, each with different ideas on how to make our city better. What was one policy you've heard from another candidate that you'd support and would work with them to implement should you get elected?
Thank you. Michael Weeb, running with the Green Party. I actually really like Francois' idea on how we can really implement and move people to ensure that we have commercial kitchens at our facilities, which I've been working on, so we can get people in and sewing and teaching others to sew and creating small business idea. I also like the commercial kitchens. We know that we've had a lot of people talk about how do we get involved in canning, how do we change as an intergenerational component, how do we get people lifted up in a small business. We can have those done with the proper health authorities to make sure it works and they have the permitting. We're also looking at doing that at a personal level. I know that there are people that want to cook and cook food for their friends and cook food. So how do we actually use the same permitting departments so we can go to someone's house and actually make it so that they can get permitted to make commercial food, to sell it at a market, and start to make that supplementary income that you need in Vancouver to live. Because this is not an easy city to live in, and the more that we can do to lift up the bottom, the more we can live together.
I think it's, for me, it's a no-brainer. I think it's Gene Swanson's idea that we need to take care of our people. We need to build more modular housing. And that's the thing is, we need to start treating people like they're human, the way that every God made them. This is the big thing that's missing, from all the discussions that we are having, is the idea that we can just look at one set of people and just prioritize their needs and not care about the other ones is I think the wrong way to approach this. And I think we need to make sure people who are not only on the streets right now, they have to take care of the people who are about to get on the street because they are not able to find, or they are one accident away from becoming homeless because of the lower vacancy that we have. They have to be looked at as well. So that's I think the most important thing. And I would say it's unusual, but I'd say vote for COPE as well. Thank you.
Hi everyone. I'm Graham Cook. I'm running as an independent for City Council. Thanks so much for hanging out. More like last audience member standing, am I right? One of my favorite ideas that I actually heard tonight, because I actually haven't heard it on this whole months-long campaign trail, was actually, I think it was Pete Fry, and sorry if I'm mistaking him for somebody else. It was the nightmare idea, because I think that's something that's taken off a lot in Europe, and having that representation, somebody who's in charge of looking after the nightlife and keeping everybody safe after dark, not just people out partying, but people who get off work later, people who are more vulnerable. I think that's a fantastic idea. Thanks so much. Graham Cook.
I'm next, okay. All right, folks, thank you for sticking around. Diego Cardona for Vision Vancouver. And I think this question gets to the heart of, it doesn't matter where the idea originated from. If it's a good idea, we should all implement it. You know, in the last by-election, I ran and there were good ideas and people told me, oh, well, didn't the organization you co-founded came up with that idea? And I said, I don't want to take credit for it. If it's a good idea, that's the purpose of it. So in this election, I've really appreciated ideas from all parties. I really appreciated what one city has brought to the floor in terms of land value capture. I really appreciated Jean and the COPE folks for their passion for accessible transit and for modular housing. Even though they're not here, I really have appreciated, as a 22-year-old that does spend time on Granville Street, yes, Vancouver's advocacy for lane-out transit and a fun city. I have appreciated the Greens and their advocacy for community consultation and affordability definitions that are clear in our bylaws. So I think the core of this question is good ideas, we should all take them. Thank you.
Hi, Franco Petta for Coalition Vancouver. I'm number 18. I like Francois' idea. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur since I was a kid. My parents were immigrants, and if I wanted something extra, I had to go cut grass, shovel snow, do the paper route, you name it. And to add to your community center, why don't we do it in schools? Schools are a huge place that you could have kids being entrepreneurs at nighttime and doing the business. Yeah. Not child labor. I took the bus down to Robson Street when I was 10 years old from East Van to work for my uncle's restaurant and a pizza place till I was 16. So I think we need to empower people and give them options. And we got all these buildings sitting empty doing nothing.
Housing. Is that everybody? I heard a comment about child labor laws, and somebody correct me if I'm mistaken, but if you're a migrant worker, child, farm laborer, they don't apply to you. Can anybody confirm that, or? 12. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, thank you. That's what I was thinking, 12. Thank you, Catherine. Okay, so listen. Now, I don't like the squatting down in front of you so much, so what I'm going to ask, because I don't want to be like covering you up, just give me a little room. So when I say you and then, yeah, that's nice, thank you. Space between you. Thank you. It's hard work. So, thanks. And actually, I think this is really notable because so many of us have sat in city council chambers till late into the night, and I thank all of you who have sat in city council labors way beyond your comfort zone. And for you city councilors that will become elected, I'm appreciating that this is going to get you ready for that. So, Michael Weed. Raza Mirza. Graham Cook. Diego Cardona. Franco Petta. Thank you for your contribution. Michael is a stay candidate, and then I'm feeling unsure about these three. Can we do it one more time? And can you be enthusiastic if you mean it? And if you're not committed, then you don't have to clap. So, breath in for some strength, people. Diego Cardona. Thank you, commitment. Graham Cook. Razamirza. For your contribution, Raz, I appreciate that. Okay, so you can hang out here with your pals if you like, but do we need...
I need to make a phone call to my family.
Yeah, tell them you did great. Tell them you did great. And I'm so glad it doesn't cost so much to call overseas anymore. So yeah, I'm gonna ask you one more time.
I'm not dancing.
If, but okay, well hear what? You will dance for your candidate of choice. If you're committed, dance for Graham Cook.
Come on.
Thank you so much. That's a good little boogie down. How do you make a Kleenex dance? That's right. Sorry. They're my brother's jokes. Diego Cardona. Dance for Diego. Oh my God. I feel it's the same. Okay. One more. Okay. Andrew, help me. Help me. Okay, we're gonna measure. We're gonna use technology because visually and sonically, by my own estimation and that of my esteemed peers, it's looking pretty evenly divided. And after this round, I gotta tell you, it gets really exciting because we get 3 rounds. Okay. Okay, after this, oh yeah, just so you know what's happening next. Paula's going to talk, and Andrew Pasker, our esteemed organizer here, we're going to get 6 candidates up. There's going to be 2 sets of 3 people, and the best of those 2 sets will go through one-on-one, head to toe, with 90 seconds each. So there's a lot at stake between Diego and Graham. So the meter is here. That means you must throw your sound here. I'd like to be in the middle, please. Diego Cardona. Graham Cook. See, you guys really showed up differently that time. Sometimes it's just give her, you think it's late and you still got it in you. Good work, people. Paula, where? Paula with the beautiful first and last name, which isn't in front of me. Paula Kalitza.
Paula!
Would you please offer a little moment to our esteemed audience?
Hello again, everyone. So I am here to announce the outcome of those votes that those tick boxes you put on that voting sheet, on that ballot. It's late. So for those 4 amazing organizations. So we've counted 197 ballots, and what we've done is count the votes, and we are going to split the money up proportionately to the number of votes that each organization got. What a concept. Civics will get 11% of the money raised. The Samara Center will get 13% of the money raised. Apathy is Boring will get 36% of the money raised. And Equal Voice will get 39% of the money raised, which makes them the winner, but they don't get all the money, which is kind of nice for the other people and all the people that voted for those ones. So, thank you very much, and we will, do our reconciliation and find out how much money that actually is at the end of all this. Thank you very much.
Good work on that distribution of equity monies in and sharing for all of our civic-minded organizations, helping to get the vote out. Thank you so much. I kind of had this urge right now for our gong mistress just to shake shit up a little bit, and I did not swear, and just bang it, bang it, bang it, bang it a little bit. She's looking for candy. So once she eats the candy, Mistress Gong, can you just give us like 4 big, 1, 2, 3, but give it everything. Fantastic. Okay, one more volunteer. Can you please pass me? Come on, Salem, pull the names out. Yes, 3 rounds, 2 rounds of 3. Let me know I've got this right. 2 sets of 3. Pete Fry, Green Party. Christine Boyle, One City. Michael Weeb, Green Party. On deck. Thank you very much. A round of applause for Salem. Squamish Council, and Vancouver resident in the house. Looks very close. On deck, we have Brandon Yan, One City, Graham Cook, Independent, and Shauna Sylvester. On deck, on deck. Here we go. Knock it out the park. Have fun. You got it.
So as mayor, especially when you're dealing with regional and provincial governments, it's a question of priorities. So let's do this hypothetical. You're able to successfully hypnotize TransLink CEO Kevin Desmond, and he says he'll do anything you want to improve Vancouver's transit system. You tell him, I want a SkyTrain line to UBC, but he says that's the one thing he can't do for you. What's the next thing to make Vancouver's transit system better that you would prioritize over all others?
You said as mayor, right?
You're in the mayor's council, you've hypnotized Kevin Desmond, you're there and he's saying,
But
what's
I'm
the
the
one
mayor.
thing?
But I'm the oh, okay, well.
The mayor has deputized you to be
You can call
on
me-
the,
you
we can
can call
keep
me-
going,
you can
he's
call me your
deputized you to be
worship.
on the mayor's council.
No, I think an integrated, electrified network that services more of it. Actually, you know, I was out door knocking in Dunbar, and taking a bus from Dunbar to East Vancouver, what a nightmare. Like, it runs like once every hour or something. It goes down Dunbar, then along 4th, then over onto Powell. Like, no, it's a horrible route. What we should have is a bus that goes back and forth along Dunbar and a bus that goes back and forth along 4th, and like connected buses. So a better, integrated, faster, more accessible bus route that services the entire city. So people are getting out of cars and using the bus. That would be my wish list. Not sexy, I know, but it's...
Christine Boyle, City Council with One City, and I'm going to play the favorites here. I think if there's one thing we need from transit, it's a regional land value capture that's related to the public investment that we make in transit, so that across the region we're creating a stable and sustainable long-term source of good funds to build the kind of robust, modern public transportation system that we need to move people around the whole region, and that we can count on it in perpetuity without having to do ridiculous referendums and depending on who our provincial government is. We need a stable source of funds for robust transit, and a land value capture gets us there.
Hello, I'm Michael Weeb, running for council of the Green Party. There's a few elements that we need to do. One is that when I was 10 years old and you're trying to get on the bus and you're getting off and you're trying to pay, 10-year-olds should not be paying for the bus. We need to make transit free for that person that's going to high school, elementary school. We need to promote transit as the kind of ground roots, fundamental component when people move around the city. We also have great things happening with the Smart City strategy, where we're looking to connect Granville Island back to Chinatown with a rail. We need to look at every option we can do and get this connected city to move better. Transit's important, it needs to be invested. the city can invest in ensuring that that transit's free. We need to get rapid transit up to UBC. We need to ensure that 41st is now going to be a transit center hub. We need to look at 41st Avenue. They're looking at options for doing rail on 41st. It's going to be a completely new downtown center. We need to have transportation plans for the full city.
This is an important choice, people. The winner of this round will meet the winner of that round. They will have 90 seconds to discuss their point. Isn't that right, Andrew? That's what's going on. That's what's going on.
They're too good. Can I get a do-over? I didn't realize this was the last one.
Michael Weeb. Christine Boyle. It looks good on you. Pete Fry. Sometimes it's like that. But you all did wonderfully. Pete, you were the winner last time, isn't that true?
No, I was the runner-up last time.
Yeah, the runner-up last time. See, but we're getting more and more used to you. So this is great.
We're voting for you.
So Christine Boyle is going through. Sorry, I did. All right. Entrance music. Important round. Brandon Yan, Michael Graham Cook, and Shauna Sylvester. Graham, Brandon, and Shauna. This one meets Christine Boyle. Yeah, get it right.
They're just so much animosity.
So while health services are provincially funded, the City of Vancouver has taken on the priority to help increase access to health and wellness services by 2025. For example, free community health clinics to check blood pressure. If elected, what would you do at the municipal level to help improve health and wellness for Vancouverites?
Health and wellness. Yeah, I think expanding those types of programs around, specifically around mental health. So we know that a large part of our poison drug crisis or overdose crisis is related to mental health, specifically with men. And Christine talked about it, toxic masculinity. Being able to create emotionally intelligible folks is really important in our society, and also for folks to be able to feel things. I do a lot of work with young people, and being able to have access to mental health resources is really important. Right now, the wait lists are ridiculous when it comes to seeing someone to talk to, and that has to be shortened. And I think that the city has a big part to play in that. And also looking at ways in which we can get lower the barrier to our civic rec centers. I know that's Park Board's territory, but I also think the city has a big part in funding that. And so I think we need to step up and ensure that people have access to our rec centers low or no costs.
Hi everyone, Graham Cook. So I think Brandon actually touched on a great thing there. It really does, a lot of the health and wellness does start in our rec centers, just at a base level health. I think it was touched on excellently in an earlier question about having a safe and reliable source of drugs for those that are drug users, to stop the opioid epidemic, adopting as many harm reduction practices as we can. And also outside of all of this, I've been a long-time volunteer with the Huntington Society of Canada, so raising funds and awareness for Huntington's disease. And one of the big things members of our community struggle with is finding access to housing. I hate to bring everything back to housing, but it really does. One of the cornerstones of getting on a pathway to health and wellness is having a safe and secure place to sleep. Thank you so much, Graham Cook. Have a great night.
Shauna Sylvester, independent candidate for mayor. There's two of the biggest issues for me on healthcare. One is mental health, and Brandon's talked to that. But more importantly, it's the relationship between the hospital and the community. If you are being released from a mental health and you don't have a social worker, you are going to end up in the downtown east side. I know this from far too much personal experience. The second piece is seniors. Our system is completely broken. I have spent 8 years of my life taking care of my mother with Alzheimer's. I can tell you I have had to spend months trying to get her basic access. But the system doesn't work between the hospitals and the community. We need an integrated health strategy that builds on mental health and also looks at the whole issue of how our seniors are being taken care of. Thanks.
Who will meet Christine? Is it Shauna Sylvester? Is it Graham Cook? I wonder if it... Brandon Yan! So I think Graham and Brandon, you've done a superb job making it through to this round. I invite you to take your place in history and a seat in the crowd. I like that one. Okay, so here we are. Mental health. You know something, it occurs to me when we were talking about the mental health too, very often, so my brother also lives with schizophrenia, and we talk about concurrent disorders with mental health and addiction, but what we don't talk about is the kind of mental health needs that are happening and not met when you're living with mental health. And you know that a lot of people who are living in the neighborhood have more than 1, 2, 3, sometimes 4 kind of health conditions that you're living with in addition to your own mental health being taken care of. So certainly mental health is a cornerstone to health for so many other people, but it's not just a standalone issue or aspect. Silencio, Vanessa. It's the important part now. The last candidate standing, Shauna Sylvester and Christine Boyle. Can we have a round of applause? I'm gonna make my way off. 90 seconds each. So timers, can you make sure that you got 90 seconds done? Thank you so much.
The last question, folks. All right. Long public goodbye letters to Vancouver are so commonly published now, it's like a cottage industry. The authors often describe a city they loved that largely because of high costs and few opportunities showed it did not love them back. What was the closest you came to leaving Vancouver? What would your goodbye letter have said? And how do we get Vancouver to love these young, talented people again?
It's a heartbreak, eh? Thanks to Stephen Quinn in his first letters. So I came close, not because I wanted to leave Vancouver, because leaving Vancouver is just not an option for me. I've been offered so many jobs in other parts, and I'm not leaving. I'm staying. I am so committed to this community. But the only thing I come close to is Nelson, which is where I'm originally from. But the hardest part is the people I work with, some of the people I teach, and some of the people that I know are leaving. And there was one session we had at Katie's house where everybody but 2 people said that they were leaving the city. And that is just heartbreaking. My daughter's left. She can't afford to live here. So for me, what I want to do is give them a reason to stay because we've invested in them. And that means purpose-built affordable rental, different kinds of home ownership, housing authorities, good transit, well-paying jobs, but more importantly, a sense of belonging, a sense that you matter to this community, that there's a place for you and that we need you, and that you can step into this community and do something great. And that, to me, all gets wrapped in. Housing, of course, is first.
Equity is absolutely essential to that equation.
Boyle, One City, Vancouver. So I've left a couple times, both times for school to the UK and the US, but otherwise I've stayed, and the honest truth of it is that I get to stay because of the privileges that I've been born into. There's a really clear division that I see in the people I see who stay or go, and it's whether there's family resources in their family to support them to be able to stay. I think that it's not about commitment or love for the city. It's about deep social inequality. The question of who gets to stay or who gets to go, and it's deeply unfair, and it's not the kind of city that I want to be living in. That kind of injustice is how we decide who the residents of Vancouver are. And so that's why I'm running, because I've been lucky enough to stay, and as Brandon sometimes says, I want to stop going to going away parties, and I want to stop having the decision of who's in Vancouver be made by systemic inequality and class inequality that is perpetuated in our housing crisis and more. So I want to challenge all of that and build affordable housing and make every neighborhood for everyone. That's what One City is running on. That's what we're committed to. We're young folks wanting to stay and wanting to see people like us and people less fortunate than us be able to stay as well.
So this is perhaps some of the most important clapping I'll do this whole week. The person who wins this will get an excessive amount of press and media. Name familiarity will become common. That voter lists, they'll say, oh, I know that name. So this is not a joke, folks. The foot stomping, the hooting, the hollering, the standing up, the fist pumps, the hell yes, they matter. All right. I'm just going to spin around because it might be preferential, like one, first person, second person. So, thanks. So no more food where everybody is. I'm going to spin around one more time.
Go Vanessa, we love you.
Now I'm just going to go like this.
Yeah. Woo!
And you. Task? Oh, no. I think it's a noise meter. Yeah. Oh, you want no noise meter? Okay, then dance party. It's a dance party. Can we have some music for the dance party, please? Who's ever on their feet and makes the most noise? DJ? Dance party for Shauna. Okay, dance party for Christine. Ladies and gentlemen, you have danced your winner. It's a good move back there, Casella. I believe our fine runner-up is Shauna Sylvester, who can be in place. Job well done. Thank you so much, madam. So glad. Thank you for your commitment to this process. And the last candidate standing will be presented the trophy, none other than Gordon Price, Vancouver former city councillor, historian, man of the urban studies and such, city planning and thinking a lot about life. Gordon Price. Please present Christine Boyle. Yeah, but maybe just get your award. Like, just be in the moment, and then, yeah.
It was in 2008 that we did the first Last Candidate Standing, and it happened at SFU. It was one of the best things the city program ever did, but it only happened because of the work of the Vancouver Public Space Network, in particular Andrew and his team, who made this happen now for 4 times. I don't think there is a better place to see the range of candidates, and above all, the people of Vancouver, who we are, the people who are prepared to run to represent us. So may I say, as a past councillor, when I look at who I've seen tonight, I would be so not worried about the future of this city if this is the sample of the people that we've got. Thank you, all of you. And one more thing, it was 4 hours of questions on civic issues, and this group never asked a question about bike lanes. That's never happened before. It's a new era. Thank you, panel. And above all, thank you to the winner. Congratulations. What a night.